This video is really about how sometimes our parents, they mean well, but they really end up doing us more harm than good. And this video is about how I was shamed into hiding my true calling. I grew up in Jamaica, and as a child, a very young child back in the 60s, we lived down the street and around the corner from Island Records. And that was just a shack where budding groups like Bob Marley and the Wailers would, go and they would record. My brother and I, he was 4 years older than me. I was about maybe 10 at the time, 9 or 10. We would see these artists, the Wailers, Peter McIntosh, they'd walk by our house on Lyndhurst Road. They'd go down the corner to the studio. And we kind of wanted to be a part of that. We admired that and we wanted to be a part of it. So my brother and I, we wrote a song, several verses, we snuck off one day and we went around to the studio and spoke to one of the guys there. I think he was one of the assistant producers, or I don't know, but he was the only one in the studio at the time. And we sang the song for him, and he kind of listened to us, and then he did kind of like an a cappella version, a rough version, and he said, he would pass it on to the guy that ran the studio, the little shack of a studio. So we came home. We didn't say anything to our parents, but we were very excited. And a couple of days went by, and we were at school. We hadn't come home from school yet, but the man actually came back to the house looking for the children. My mom was sitting on the veranda. My mother, one of my older sisters, my dad, they just happened to be all sitting out on the veranda when the guy came, and he, wanted to talk to the children about the song the children wrote. So my mom, my dad was like, "What song? What are these kids? What is this?" And they became very angry at the guy. And he said, "Well, they liked it. They just wanted the kids to change a couple of the lyrics, and maybe we could work with them, flush it out, and get something a little professional and see where it goes." Well, my parents, they put their foot down. It's like, "No, you're not gonna, do this with our kids. Get out of here, whatever." We came home from school, all hell broke loose. I mean, they came down on us so hard. "How dare you? You sneak off. You're hanging around with these ganja smoking people, these low lives, blah, blah, blah." But long story short, that experience really shamed me because I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be, do something creative. But that experience, that day on the veranda, back I think it was in 1966, it just really shamed me, put a shame in me for what I really was. And I just really pretty much abandoned my talents, just walked away, struggled, tried to be a good student, tried to be good academically, was not the greatest student academically, but long story short, you go on and you do what you think you have to do. You think you do what you need to do to please your family. Fast forward to 2020, during the lockdowns. I decided during the lockdowns to really go back and explore what I am, what I feel like I was created to do. I was born to write, express myself creatively. So I started searching on YouTube, opportunities for writers, and I discovered self-publishing, that you could actually create books, publish them directly on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, you know, without having to have a middleman, somebody, a publisher, someone to say the yay or the nay. You can just eliminate these gatekeepers, create your books, upload them to Amazon, start selling, which is challenging. You have to do marketing. But long story short, I started with journals, gift journals, just no content, lined notebooks, and I designed the covers, and I took to graphic designing and cover designing like a duck to water. And I started just during 2020, 2021, during that whole dark lockdown period. I just was publishing books, publishing, journals, gift journals, all, really getting comfortable with the process. About a year and a half later, I started doing children's coloring books, add a little bit more content, a little bit more substance to the interiors. So I did a series of children's coloring books and published them. Then I got into storybooks, started writing storybooks. And my father, one thing about him, he always encouraged storytelling. We were poor. We didn't have a television, stuff like that. So we would just sit around and make up stories around the dinner table. So I kind of tapped back into that ability, and I started publishing children's storybooks. And to date, I have published over 120 books on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And sales have been very modest because I have not marketed, I haven't done any marketing or anything like that. But the creative process, just to be able to write your books, create your artwork, publish it without having to depend on a gatekeeper, some publisher saying yay or nay, we don't like this. It's just the most liberating thing that I have ever experienced. And I always, I think about that, all the years lost, to really discover my true self at 67. I was 67 during the lockdowns. I'm 72 now. But during the lockdowns, it was just the most exciting thing. I felt like I had stepped back in time. I was that 10-year-old child all over again. And I've since written a book, a nonfiction book, a self-help book. I've had published a workbook that goes with it. I'm working on several other books right now. And I just want to make this video to tell anyone that if you've been shamed into really embracing who you are. A lot of us have talent, but we've been shamed because we don't have money, things like that. We can't even verbalize, I am this or I am that. I just want to make this video just to tell anyone, if you still have life in you, if you still have breath in your body, go for it. You may not make the millions of dollars yet, because I have books that were published in 2021 that are just now beginning to sell. So once you publish and you upload the files to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or any of the other print-on-demand sites, that's it. You don't have to keep inventory at home. You don't have to worry about, having to stock your house with inventory. The book doesn't exist until it's ordered, and that's the beauty of self-publishing and, through platforms like KDP, which is Amazon's private publishing company, or Barnes & Noble Press. So you can create, make your files, upload your files, your cover file, your interior file, and you have that satisfaction of saying, gee, I brought my project to the public. And when you check your reports and you see you've sold a book in Spain, you've sold a book in Australia, Canada, it is the most rewarding feeling in the world. And right now, I want to take some time off from publishing because that's what I love, and kind of focus more on marketing and to boost the sales. But I'll tell anyone, especially people, those of you with a YouTube channel that has a lot of views, tap into publishing, tap into something that's inside of you that you can create, and that's your very, very own, because you will never experience the joy and the satisfaction that it brings until you really do it and you physically have a product in your hand and you say, wow, I did this after all these years. The scared little writer in me, the scared little artist in me took a leap of faith and at least brought that talent to the world. So I just want to say to anyone that's, have the music inside of you, let it out. Bring it to the world. We want to hear it. We really need to hear what's going on inside of you. Thank you so much. God bless all of you. Catch you on the next one. Bye.